one of those. Like you can see, this one has 4 cutters to it. And it's a 1/2 inch shank. Now we have a specialty bit here. Now this bit, or M mill, for lack of a better term, this actually is spring loaded, and this is an etching bit. So we can go ahead and create a CNC program and then go ahead and put glass on our CNC and then run this over that surface, and it will etch the glass with a design of your choice. So this is pretty neat to have the capability of doing. And then this happens to be a spoiled board surfacing bit. Nice thing about this is when you've taken your spoil board, as I'm gonna walk over here and I'll show you. As you can see, we've cut into the spoil board pretty extensively. But what we can do, instead of just throwing this whole spoil board out, is we can load this machining tool or M mill, and I can go ahead and surface this whole thing to make it completely flat again. And the nice thing about this is it has several different cutters on it, and once you wear out one side, we can loosen up the Allen key, turn it 90 degrees, and use it again until that goes dull, and then we go ahead and keep on rotating it until we've destroyed essentially all 4 sides on all the different cutters. So this, basically this type of cutter should last a significant amount of time before we even have to replace one knife or one cutter to it. Okay? Now that I've talked a little bit to you about the different tooling that goes on the CNC, this is a tool holder. And what I want to do is show you how to take a bit out or an M mill out and replace it and put another one in. Now, inside the tool holder, you'll find collets varying in different sizes. Like this one's a 3/4 inch collet, 1/2 inch collet, 3/8, an 1/8 inch, and we do have several 1/4 inch collets already loaded up onto the magazine that holds different tools. But what I'd like to do is demonstrate for you how to go ahead and take one of these tools out and then replace it with another one with a different bit. So what I'm going to do here is this, is I'm going to grab a 1/4 inch a 1/2 inch. This happens to have a 1/2 inch shank with a 1/2 inch collet. And I'm just going to replace it with another 1/2 inch bit. I have my tool to go ahead and loosen up the collet on here. I'm going to have to take this to a vise. I'm going to place my bit to make sure it doesn't roll off onto the floor. So I tighten it up. This has a little notch in here. And as you can see, this notch fits right inside of here. And go ahead, loosen that up. I can hand loosen it, then I'm going to have to click it again. Now I want to be very careful because the bit itself, or the end mill, can be very sharp. But I want to make sure I don't drop anything into the floor. Now I want to take this, I clip this out, and I want to make sure that I get any debris out of here. Okay? So I'm going to take that, place it down. I'm going to grab this towel. So we'll go ahead and remove any of the debris or dust that was inside of here. And now what I'm going to do is to go ahead and take the collet. Now, if I have to get a different collet or different size collet, what you want to make sure is when you push this in here, you hear it snap or click, like that. Now I know that this is in here properly. I'm going to go ahead and place my new cutter that's desired in here. I want to make sure it's set at the appropriate level, about 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch above the cutting flute. Make sure it's registered inside of here, the approximate or the appropriate amount. And then when I go ahead and I tighten this on here, I want to make sure I do not cross thread anything. This should go on very, very easily. You shouldn't have to force anything. So I just hand tighten that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my tool, and then I'm going to have to put a fair amount of pressure in this. I would say I probably gave that about a 20-pound, 25-pound pull. So now I've just tightened up a new bit inside the tool holder. I want to make sure I pick up my tools. And then we can come back over here. One thing is that I want to talk to you about also is on this tool holder, you can see we have a little bit of resin built up from different wood and stuff like that. You want to try and get this cleaned off before I put it back in the magazine to make sure it's cleaned up, so that way when it goes up inside the spindle, it's safe for you to use, okay? So with that being said, that's all set. Now the tool holders, I would like to show you. These are the tool holders, the plastic holders for the machine, where it automatically picks them up and drops them off. You want to make sure that these are not damaged or worn out, because it will drop the tool if not, or other things that bad things can happen if you're not watching these and taking precaution on whether or not these are still working properly. We do have extras, so that way if I have to replace it, I can pull these 2 Allen screws out, put the new one in, and it has self-finding pins to make sure it's set exactly where it needs to be. So this is the basic rundown of what you should be checking before you go ahead and load up your material on the CNC, load up your software and your G-code, and start running and cutting tools. Okay? So this is the basic setup of the machine. I hope that you learned something. I know it's been fun to be with you and talk to you about one of my favorite machines here in the shop. Until next time, I'm Mr. C in the wood shop. We'll see you.